Thank you very much once again for choosing KUTV and for staying with us on Rise Today this morning. We are doing lots of business and we're definitely talking to the youths, our young ladies and gentlemen, today this morning. What exactly do you think you want to do with your business idea? Do you have enough money and would you take your help loan and invest in that? Well, in the studio this morning, we have one young gentleman. He is younger, actually, to my surprise, than I thought. He is just in the right bracket in this conversation with the youth. He's called Mr. Francis Kimani Courier. He's a successful business gentleman. He's an entrepreneur, he's a financial advisor, and one thing that is amazing is that within this conversation we're having this morning of whether to actually start your business using your help loan, he did that and he made his first $500,000. I hope that I did that introduction the justice it deserves. Did I? Karibu.
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you this morning.
I'm happy to be here.
So, on this conversation, just even before you give your the introduction to yourself, would you start a business with your help loan? I mean, isn't that just a risky idea? And which parent would allow you to step away from school just to start business anyway?
The question of whether I could use my help loan to start should not even be the question. Because I used my help loan to start up a business.
And it went well.
And it went well.
You're going to tell us about that.
Yes, I will.
Just briefly about yourself, who you are, so that those who are watching this morning knows exactly who's giving them this financial advice.
Okay. Francis Kimani is an alumni of Kenyatta University. I did Bachelor of Commerce Finance. I graduated in 2011. I am a master's holder in international business management from Strathmore University.
Congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
is a good degree from a good university.
Yes. And KU is also a good university, you know.
It is. But you know, when you're talking business and we're talking Strathmore, we know what
Yes.
you're talking about.
Center of Business, yes. I'm also a CPA.
You're a CPAK.
Yes, I am.
Aren't you intelligent? Not everyone gets to CPAK.
I also have interest in several lines of businesses. I'm in the motor vehicle business, and even some other small businesses like salons, dry cleaning. Let me say I do almost a little of everything that I have an interest in. And at the end of the day, you come up with a business portfolio that take care of risk, so that in case one business is not doing as fine, then you have some backup plan. If that is not doing as fine, you have another backup plan. And something that really gives me a lot of happiness is seeing the number of people that I employ in these businesses.
And it's doing well.
You're not complaining. You're not complaining.
Now, besides being a businessman and an entrepreneur, you are also employed.
Yes, I have a full-time job. I'm a regional finance manager at Maryknoll Fathers and Brothers, or the United States Catholic Foreign Mission Society. Yes, I have a full-time job.
Doubling up on both. So just how exactly did you start your business using your help loan? Which business was it? Before we get to how does one even know what kind of business to begin at that stage?
One of the greatest motivations of a business is need. And if you have to excel in a business, you need to create a reason. Why do you want to do this? It's not, there's some people that are lucky and blessed to come from a relatively good family in terms of financially, but some of us who were brought up in a very humble background. So when I was joining first year, I hardly had enough fees for my first year. And so when I paid for my first semester and my help came in, I knew that if I didn't do something, then I was going to drop out of school. And the risky thing I did was my help came in and I saw a demand. When you're thinking about what kind of business to start, you also need to have to find out, do you have a demand for this product or service that I want to sell? When I joined KU as a freshman, as a fresher, there are many things that I strained to get. For example, you probably want to buy a pair of socks, you want to buy a vest, you want to buy a calculator, you want to buy something, and you couldn't find them. You couldn't find our way through KU. You know how big KU is.
It is true.
And that to me brought out the need, not really the need, that there was a gap somewhere that needed to be filled. So the first thing I did when my help hit my account was go to town, go to these malls and go to these stores and say, what are these items that students need in school that they cannot get in school? and I'll buy them, put them in a suitcase, then go room by room, knocking on someone's door and tell, this is what I'm selling.
Okay.
Yes.
And being an intelligent little gentleman, didn't you feel for a moment that maybe this was too small for you?
I didn't have much of a choice, honestly. I didn't have much of a choice because I needed to survive.
You needed, and survival really calls for a means to look for that. And how did this translate into all that money? You mentioned 500,000. This is a small amount of money, a small start, but the translation, that was big.
You know, within 4 years of my study at KU, I said I started with those small items that ladies need earrings, they need bras, they need clothing and all that.
How did you get to know what kind of earrings ladies would wear? I mean,
you need to have an interest. And it's probably good to mention that when you go to these people, when you interact with people, it depends. When I'm talking to you and I'm looking at you, there are many things that can go into my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things could be, what kind of earrings are you wearing? Where did you buy them? And am I able to come and sell to them at a lower price? Yes, you really have to have that business mind. The way to translate it to as much money, it was not like all of a sudden. You need to have a lot of patience and you need to be consistent. When I started, it was the small items, like, in fact, some as small an item like an eye pencil. I remember I used to buy it at wholesale, and I used to buy one at around 3 shillings and 50 cents, and would sell it between 20 shillings and 30 shillings.
That is a good profit margin.
Yes, so if you sell 20 of them, that is 400 shillings. Where do you make 400 shillings in a day? Then gradually, I advanced to electronics. There was a time, during my time is when now the issue of computers came up. People needed to buy laptops. By then, things like the smartphones as we know now, that have really come to replace computers one out there. So I'll go, you need a laptop, I'll get to town, buy your laptop and bring it. Other electronic devices like iron boxes, like electric chicos and all that.
And you're not doing this from any shop, you're doing it right from your suitcase.
In fact, right from my suitcase. You go to town, you buy a laptop, you come and you sell. And most of the time when you talk to people, they'll tell you, fine, I don't need a laptop, but I need a TV. Or
And
I
you know
don't need
just where to get it. I'm sure that banking came in handy at this point. You definitely were not keeping your monies in the same suitcase, so you had to have an idea of savings and banking.
Unfortunately, there wasn't much money to save or to put in the bank. I had to put that money in circulation.
Okay.
So you go and buy items, you come and sell, you go and buy others and come and sell. Until now I graduated, and when I graduated, that's when I realized, oh, I've accumulated enough amount of money and I put it in a savings account. And then the idea of now doing the hawking business in school will no longer apply once I graduated.
Once you graduated, so you had to expand
So I
it
had
and
to
think
think about
broader,
something
think
different.
outside the
Yes,
box.
yes.
There are definitely fears that you had when you're probably thinking of translating your HELB loan from education to, from channeling it from education to business. And I'm sure that the same fears maybe are within students who are thinking the same way. What are those fears, and what would you tell them about that?
It's a risk that you take. When you go and buy that product, there's a chance that you won't sell it. Or there's a chance that you will sell it at a loss. But it's a risk that you need to take. And again, I started by saying the need. And that need, I didn't have much of a choice. Because even if I don't use this help, it's not enough to pay my fees and to sustain me. So I had to take it. And in business, we say the bigger the risk, the higher the return.
The higher the return.
Risk,
So let them go ahead and take the risk.
Yes.
Back to small businesses, you have mentioned quite a variety of businesses that you're into, from BUT to a garage to motor vehicles and all. There are definitely very many people who are either within campus and planning that after campus they want to to begin such businesses, or right now watching, they're not students any longer, but they want to venture into small businesses. How conducive is the environment for this?
The business environment out there, it depends with really what you are interested in. There's a lot of regulations that I would say that will hinder some of the businesses, because one of the challenges that I find, and some of the things that don't make sense, is some of the permits that you have to apply in getting a business. And even a simple thing like having a power connection to your business and having a water connection to a business sometimes can take months and months before you get. And sometimes I wonder, why can't we have this services at one desk. So you go, like the way, you know, the way Huduma Center works, like you go there and you apply for Kenya Power, you apply for water, and you apply for, you all under the same desk. So there's a lot of regulation, but you need to identify a field that you have some knowledge about and that you are interested in. I'll give an example of the field of networking. One of the companies that I have is called Mia's Networking Solutions Limited, a company I started with my brother when immediately I graduated and my brother was in fourth year. There are people out there who are willing to pay a fee to get networked to someone else. And this networking may not just be the way we know that networking, but how do we connect someone like the supplier to the consumer? And a good example of such a project we've had is, for example, ACCA Kenya. ACCA Kenya needed to reach out to university students or to students out there to get them to enroll too. And so we created a concept called brand ambassadors. So when you're a student, when you're walking and talking to people on the road, when you're in the room chatting or something, then you can actually make a sale with this person through that network. But come on, have you heard of ACCA? Do you want to take a course in ACCA? Do you want me to enroll you? And that way you make a profit. And that way we have become a link between ACCA Kenya and the student. And there's so many, let me say, the concepts that one can use to make money. There are very many of them. But there is need for some information, for some interest in that particular line of business. When you look at the current situation, especially what we call the rising of now this middle class, we have people who want to go to a salon, for example, to get a shave. But nowadays, people don't want to just get a shave. You want to get a shave and get some facial scrubbing, some neck massage and something. How are you able to bring that service to this person and charge a premium for it and make some money out of it?
So you need to be aware.
You need to be really, 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 really aware.
And you have to have interest also.
And you have to have interest, yes. You have to have interest, and you have to do, you really have to do your background. Sometimes I speak to young people, and they're saying, okay, what do you want to do? I want to start a car hire business. So, wow, that's fantastic. So how do you intend to do a car hire business? And they have no information whatsoever, you see? And that's why you have even firms like Uber coming to the Kenyan market and taking the traditional taxi business by storm.
Because we don't have a strategy, and they come with a strategy.
They come with a strategy. You do your research and find out, is there a gap that you can fill? And how easy can I fill this gap? I keep saying it's quite unfortunate when you look at how the young people are embracing IT and like, for example, social media. But what are you using social media for?
Because it can be turned into a business opportunity. Now, before we leave the conversation of starting up small businesses, maybe somebody has a strategy already in place. They have done their research properly. They have identified an area of interest, but then they have to have capital. Is there any other way they can raise capital besides having to go to a bank to get loan? Let's say, for example, all they have is something as simple as a motorbike, and they want to have a fleet of vehicles for taxis. How do you put all this together without, is bank loan the ultimate solution?
When you're talking about the bank loans, I will probably start by give an example of what happened the other day when these members of parliament wanted to pass this bill to cap the interest rates, and that the matter of banking and interest rates is attracting regulatory authorities to want to regulate it. Tells you there's something wrong with our banking sector, because before you go out there and get that bank loan, I tell you, you have to have collateral. You need to have a business relationship with that bank. You need to, for example, have guarantors and things like that.
And you have to have a statement that proves you can actually qualify.
Yes. So instead of being so quick to get for loans, start small. I was talking to somebody last week, a friend of mine, and they looked at the Mama Mboga business. And they were saying, someone realized that they live on 5th floor, and every time they need to buy sukuma wiki, they have to go 5 floors down to get in that sukuma wiki. Sometimes they leave work late, and therefore they don't get that mboga. And then he said, why not have this mboga delivered into people's houses.
Oh yes,
And
that is
as
a
result,
gap.
that's a gap. You don't need a bank loan to start that kind of a business. With say even 2,000 shillings, 3,000 for that. You can start small and then grow that
Grow
business.
big.
that business quickly.
And eventually get to where you
So
want
instead
to
of
be.
being so quick to, I want a business of 1 million shillings. Come on, do something with 2,000, with 3,000, with 5,000. Then have it grow with time. So that even by the time that you want to go to a bank loan and get that 1 million shillings bank loan, even that history that the bank wants with you, then you have
So
that.
that
already.
means you must be have an idea about saving, identify a bank, have a relationship, save consistently.
Yeah, yes, it does. In fact, I belong to a different school of thought. I've never taken a bank loan in my life. I've survived with, okay, well, the few businesses that I've had to take a bank loan with has been a SACCO loan. There's a very big difference between the concept of a SACCO and that of a bank. Let me try to break it down. When you go to a bank, you go there as a customer. So they have a product that they're selling to you, and that's called the money. They're going to sell you 10,000 shillings, and they're going to give you 10 months to repay, and then within that 10 months, you will give them back, say, 13,000 or 14,000 shillings. So the year they sell, you are the buyer. But when you come to a SACCO, you invest there as a shareholder, as a member. So you'll have your little savings there, like you save every month. And then when you need to get a loan, they use a multiply effect. You have a savings of, say, 10,000 shillings. They give you 3 times or 4 times that amount of money. And then at the end of the day, you earn dividends from your
It's basically you own the
savings.
money that is circulating.
You
You
own the
own the
money that is-
interest.
that's
You're a
circulating.
part of it. And now they have probably decided they're going to join circles or to begin small. They're business-minded people who, you know, look at a lady and instead of seeing beautiful earrings and the color, they see how much they can, you know, bring that to the lady. But then we are in a country that is regulated by policymakers. Just how much is the government really encouraging or not encouraging entrepreneurship among the youths in terms of business, mentorships and all that? How is that put together in their favor?
The government is really trying hard because there are all these, like even when you talk about financing, there is a youth fund and there are all these other sources of financing that the government is trying to offer. Every now and then, even with government institutions like Kenyatta University, has an incubation center that they want to incubate these entrepreneurs. But still, there's still a lot that needs to be done. And let me give you an example. When you're going to town, and you're in Matatu, you're driving yourself to town, and then there is traffic starts to build up. Have you ever noticed something that happens when you actually on the road and then traffic starts building?
Are we talking about the hawkers who come in and
Yes,
start
you have
selling?
people that comes with product that they want to sell to you. And so that tells you that there are people out there who have an idea. They have a product and they know there is a market for it. But now, to create a place where this the seller or the businessman meets the client, that's where we've never been able to hit. When you go to town, the debate about whether hawkers should be allowed in town or not is a debate that continues to go on and on and on. And there's so many dynamics to it because even when a market is set, like Gikomba or Mudhurwa, they can't all fit in there. So there is need to innovate and find out what are the other avenues where this buyer can meet this seller. And one of the solutions that I find would lead to this is if we fully utilize social media. Unfortunately, this has been a market platform that the regulation has been shaky.
It's not regulated really. People are already using it to buy and sell, but there is no stable regulation.
Yes, for example, how does the government make taxes out of it? You know, how does it safeguard me if I order for a product online and that person does not deliver the product or the specifications of the product that I ordered does not meet what I ordered? How does the government make sure that I don't lose? And there's still a lot that needs to be done. But I think the greatest thing that the government needs to think, and all the business stakeholders out there, is to find a way that at the lowest cost possible, where the seller actually gets to meet the customer, so that they can do business.
Very true. And actually, people are already taking advantage of technology, even, beyond social media. Applications are coming up where people buy and sell, they meet and interact. How about sustenance of business? It is apparently said that not so many small businesses that are started, get to have a shelf life. Most of them collapse for one reason or another. What is it that needs to be done to sustain a business, and what are the reasons why they collapse and don't make it?
There are several reasons why most of these businesses don't last beyond 3 years, and I'll start by explaining the difference between entrepreneurship and self-employment. Most of the business that you see out there are people who actually self-employ themselves, and what I mean by self-employ themselves is that when that person is not in that business cannot function. But entrepreneurs, on the other hand, will create a business that will run whether they are there or not. And that has to do with creating controls, for example. So how do we make sure that that my salon, for example, whether I report to work, that my employees report to work on time, that all the sales made are recorded, that we keep innovative ways of, what is happening in the market, what products are good for the customers, what are not. How do we continue looking at and making sure that that is consistent? So there's a whole matter of the needs of people and the wants of people change every day.
Time.
Let me give you an example. Several years ago, I think when I was in first year, what we thought was smartphones. Remember those big China phones that had TV and things like that? And see how the mobile industry has changed over the years. Now we have a smartphone that's costing as little as, say, 5,000 or 4,000 shillings. So if you want to sustain your business by selling those China phones, then you'll be out of business now. So you need to continuously think.
Evolve with the evolution of people and ideas.
The evolution of people, the changing trends of people.
And then now we have the question of what exactly is the ripe idea in the moment. Because there are people who are not passionate about one thing, or they have not identified an area of interest, but they do know how to make use of opportunities. In your opinion, maybe right now, being now that you're in the business world, which are the ripe areas that a youth can invest in at this moment?
Most of the time, young people look at the blue-collar jobs, for example. But I'll, for example, give you a concept that makes people make a lot of money. An example of a car wash business. That you take your car to a car wash and you charge, say, 300 shillings and someone washes that car for you. Not many people would like that idea because it looks like a dirty job.
It is.
But really, it's about identifying a need and then finding out information about that thing. You might be passionate about something, but that something may never make money for you. So it's not just about passion. You might be passionate about clothes.
But in the moment, nobody needs clothes.
People need clothes, yes, but then how do you identify a gap in that clothing industry where you're going to make?
And how about the agriculture business? It has been said over and over again that it is a good business idea, and a lot of times people have souped into it without really thinking well through it and made losses. How viable is it?
For again, the young people don't want to get our hands dirty.
Which is a wrong perception. It shouldn't be like that, right?
Yes, it shouldn't be like that. And then the agribusiness, there is a big challenge because of the brokers, whom I would call the brokers. And at the end of the day, those people that make money out of the business would be those that process the products that you get from agriculture. But you find that those who actually make, for example, let me give an example of a daily business. A research by Carib, I think a month ago, showed that on average, those people who put a dairy cow were making a loss of 0.5 shillings per litre.
Which is a lot of money.
And that is a loss. And the reason why they're making this loss is you don't think about the overheads. You don't sit down and say, I'm going to have a dairy cow, I'm going to spend this amount of money on its feeds, I'm going to spend this amount of money in paying the employees, I'm going to spend this amount of money in paying electricity and water bills and all that. So agribusiness can work, and it has proved to work. But unfortunately, it's not working to many people because they do not factor in all the costs involved. And when they eventually make this product, the price that the product is going for in the market is not enough to have them make a profit that will make that business
It's not
grow.
equivalent even to what they spend.
Yeah, I'll give an example of dairy farming where we're making a loss of 0.5.
Which is quite
shillings per
unfortunate.
litre. Yeah.
And as we wind up, I'm told our time is up. Which is the one financial advice that you find yourself giving all over and over again to the youths?
It's never too late to start. Identify that something that you want to do your research and go for it.
And go for it. As long as you have everything factored in, you've done your research, strategize.
Go for it.
It's never too late.
It's never
And
too
it's
late.
never too early, right?
It's never too early.
Hey, people, use your health loans to start that business. Well, thank you very much. That is Mr. Francis Kuria. You have heard it for yourself. It's never too late and it's never too early. And definitely business opportunities are there. All you need to identify is the gap and then make a good use of your research, your interest and your passion and the opportunities that are there, and go for it. Go for it headstrong. But remember, if you're going for agribusiness, then factor in everything that you're going to spend so that you can have a balance between what you're going to be making and what you're spending. This is KUTV Rise Today. It is the Business Corner. It has been wonderful indeed being with you. We still have something after this segment. Wait for it. Don't go anywhere and stay right here because it is business and business for the youths.